Green Lantern issue 9, legacy number 545, written by Jeremy Adams, art by Zermanico, is back on this one. So obviously there's a lot of build up in the early part of the issue of Hal's getting into this sort of like big hole in the earth, and he finds this secret garden, and his old friend Tom, the plane mechanic, is there.
Tom Kalamaku. That is a name that I have forgotten about as a character in Green Lantern.
Yeah, it's been a while. Since
Rebirth, not Rebirth itself, but Green Lantern Rebirth.
Yeah, 2006-ish or 5-ish.
Yeah.
Rebirth.
So seeing Adams pull that deep, I was like, okay, all right, we're dealing with a real one here.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I mean, all this builds up to a big revelation, right? Which is that he's there to show Hal something. He was there to protect something in this earth, and all the trees move out the way to reveal a green power battery. And Hal realizes that the energy that he's been using, and the reason why he can't travel anywhere with it, is because he's basically just been getting energy from this via proximity. He doesn't have a real ring. So Tom suggests, let's get a real ring. So there's 6 or 7 rings purely for the Earth, for the 2814 lanterns. And apparently the whole thing here is that the Guardians put a backup power battery on Earth because humans are so stubborn and too full of will that they're the most likely to survive if everything goes wrong. So this backup power battery's on Earth, and there's rings for Jess, for Simon, for Kyle, for Guy. I don't know if Joe counts because Joe already had kind of a weird different ring, plus she's like the 7th one, so that would make sense. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. This explains the power he's been using. And now he's got a real ring again, which he charges. So we get the whole charge up couple of pages where he says the mantra. All very good. Great pages by Zermanico. And he finally flies off. He leaves space. He looks down back at the Earth. Again, very nice pages. I appreciated in these few pages how Zermanico plays with these like sort of like cut-up circle layouts. Like there's like these panels that are part of a ring.
Arcs. Yeah. And the way that he plots them, they make kind of like a lantern ring in and of itself, right?
Kind of. Well, I think it was also going for this idea that they always kind of complement what the main big image is. So in the first one, it's the Earth, so they kind of fit into that circle. And the second one, as Green Lantern's flying off, there's like a blast that's also a circle. So those panels up the top kind of like sort of like just sort of fit the shape, I suppose, if you will.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all very nice. But he's stopped on his way out though, because of course the United Planets have a blockade. They have a blockade for anyone trying to leave Sector 2814. So all these lanterns are there, these ones that can turn into different spectrums, and Hal has to fight them for a bit. And he struggles a little bit. He's putting up a bit of a fight, but he's struggling. And the cliffhanger of the issue is that an ally shows up, a green tank shows up, and out from the green tank pops Joe, and she asks if he needs some help. And that's the cliffhanger of the main story. So... I sort of rushed through that a little bit because ultimately it comes down to 2 main things. There's a power battery on Earth, and that's where Hal's been pulling energy from, and now he's got a proper ring. And secondly, now he's back in space, and Joe Mullen is part of an offensive trying to take down this corrupt United Planets. On Oa. But she's part of this resistance that are trying to take down this new wave of lanterns being led by the corruption in the United Planets. So, and that ties into the backup as well, which we'll get to in a minute. But feelings, thoughts. Where are you feeling with this?
So this it always feels there's something off with this arc, right? With Hal and his ring and not being able to leave Earth, and like, was it a mental thing? So I applaud Adams for taking the pre-established Lantern mythos, kind of tossing it out to reestablish kind of his own, with this whole idea that now, it's still playing within the lane that that a Guardian, presumably Ganthet, right? We'd have to guess, appeared to Tom, right? And basically told him like, you're important in this because he's somebody that Hal will listen to, right? So he kind of gets him to keep guard over this power battery, knowing that someone in the United Planets is working on something, right? And so this whole idea of the Guardians, or at least Ganthet, putting a green power battery on Earth because humans are so stubborn. It's a great source for that will. I love it. And especially when we got the flashback with the fall of the yellow battery, right? When the United Planets had went there and that one had fallen, it makes it seem like someone is going out of their way to destroy all of that other stuff. You know, so the fact that the Guardians are kind of onto this a little bit beforehand or maybe during, you know, shows like not all is lost, that not all the, you know, the United Planets isn't completely taken over. And yeah, I just love this whole idea, and the art really takes over when Zermanica, when Hal leaves the planet, and just Hal has this big goofy smile on his face, you know, and it's like he's back to where he needs to be for the first time in forever, and that between the storytelling and the art, it is like a near perfect moment.
Yeah, I think there's some debate as to how long this power battery's been here. I got the impression it's been here since before the United Planets existed. I think this is something that they I think it's here as a contingency and has been here for some time. That was the impression I got. But I mean, we'll see how true that is. Maybe if they even go into that down the line, they might. Yeah, I like this quite a bit. I think I really appreciate that we took a full arc or so of Hal just doing human stuff on Earth and dealing with where he is mentally, before we dared to go back into space. And I think what's so nice is that it feels like it does somewhat tie in slightly to what's going on in War Journal. And I think they're using the backups really smart here, because not only is the backup, which we're about to talk about here, about Jessica, which is really fun, but the whole story that's written here by Sam Humphries in the backup ties in directly to this greater Green Lantern story that's going on, which, yeah, we've got Hal and John having the two main books, but we're using these backups to kind of dip into these other characters around the Green Lantern world.
The other 2814 Lanterns, right? Yeah. So we got Kyle last time. Now we have Jess.
And we got Guy next time.
We're getting Guy, you know, yeah. Yeah,
what they're doing here with Jess is that she's basically in trouble because it looks like she sabotaged the mission. And we find out the mission, and this answers one of the questions, is that Tharos here instructed Jess and this other lantern to destroy the orange power battery. That was their mission. But Jess kind of stopped it. She contained the explosion with her powers. And she makes up an excuse for it, but they're basically trying her as a traitor. They're saying, you did this intentionally. And what ends up happening here, and I'm convinced this is Baz, by the way.
Yeah.
So a Green Lantern from up above tries to assassinate Theron.
Tharos.
Right, or Tharos, sorry. And Jess saves him, right? And all I could think was, that looked like Baz with some extra, you know, shielding to sort of disguise who he is.
He's wearing like looks like a Dr. Fate helmet, kind of
deal. Yeah. But I was like, this feels like a plan, and sure enough, it turns out to be a plan. This was to have Jess gain Tharos' trust, because now Tharos thinks, oh, she saved my life. I think we can trust her. And the book ends with Jess calling Joe and saying, hey, Joe, he bought it, I'm in. So we get this idea that not only is Joe fighting this war against Tharos' corrupt lanterns, now Jess is a double agent trying to get close to him.
She's on the inside. And I like what they set up with her, too, is like, she's like, you know, I was a different kind of lantern, right? A lot of the rings had found them because they were overcoming fear. And with me, I was living with it. You know, and it kind of gets into her backstory a little bit, how she saw her friends murdered and she became a shut-in. And then it gets to the point where she had become a Yellow Lantern for a minute because she could really feel the fear. And then I love that Humphreys had come back to this character, because we mostly enjoyed his Green Lanterns book when Rebirth started. And so to get Jess back and to establish this is why she has a Green Lantern ring, is she can overcome fear. And she's, you know, a big part in this plan now to essentially play double agent, which is something that she's kind of used to doing, right? As someone that had to overcome fear and then was with the Yellow Corps and all the other things that she's done. She's perfectly suited for this. And it makes, again, it's showing why each of the Earth Lanterns are distinct. And that is a real, when you have all of them from the same place, it seems like overkill, but they're all serving their purpose in the galaxy.
I mean, obviously, the real reason is because we're on Earth, and that's why there's so many Earth planets. But
yes,
yeah, they're trying to justify it in the context of the universe. I will say I did find the art a bit awkwardly flat at places in the backup. I think Jesse's face at times looks a bit awkwardly cartoony in a way that I don't think looks that good. But overall, though, I think this is one of the most impressive use of a backup that I've seen in quite some time. Not just this one, but the Kyle one, this one, and seemingly the Guy one, where they're all feeding in to this ongoing thing in the background of the Green Lantern mythos as we're getting the main Hal and John stories, I think is quite cool. It really kind of, just, it feels like it's building this larger narrative on top of what it's doing. I guess in a weird way you could say it's kind of like the post-credit scenes of like the Marvel movies where...
A little bit.
But with a bit more depth, because there's more to it. Like, it feels like it's revealing a lot more each time. Because that's felt like a big deal. Her calling Joe and saying, hey, I'm in. Like, and to be fair to the writing, I got, like, as soon as what I think is Baz took that shot with his cannon, I'm like, this feels like a plan. This feels like a setup just to gain his trust. And sure enough, at the end, that's what it is.
Yeah, because he was coming down on her for not, she had contained the orange energy, and he kind of comes after her. He's like, I've dealt with the orange energy. That's not something you want getting everywhere, So he was coming down on her, and then when this happens and she gets in the good graces, he instantly, forgets that he was just yelling at her, right? So it also speaks to his character that way. And yeah, man. When the United Planets had taken over the Green Lantern Corps, I was like, I don't like this, but being able that both Lantern books are taking that concept, something that I didn't really like, and they're making like a really great story out of it. That's storytelling.
I mean, I had no real feelings one way or the other, I don't think, about that concept. Like, I think the concept is fine. It just takes them to tell a story about, what is the story around it. And clearly these two books right now are building a story around it, and they seem like they've got a direction. There seems to be a goal in mind for what they're building to with this Green Lantern stuff.
And I like the idea that there's corruption within the galaxy and these forces and like the people that are supposed to be keeping the rules. And it's nice that it's not the Guardians being corrupted again, right? It's a different force. It is
because they've given us this, like, and not even just them in general. They've given us one specific who is like the corrupt like president, the one who's like doing all this shady stuff for his own good. Like, it's very easy to kind of like build a villain around that, and I think it's given us a central figure for them to focus on, which I think sometimes can be missing when it's just in general the Guardians are up to something or whatever. So. Yeah, no, this was a very interesting turn, I think, this Green Lantern issue. It kind of opened it back up into the greater Green Lantern mythos, but in a way that seems quite interesting, because it's more about this like fight to like take Green Lantern as a thing back from this evil entity. So
well, and this also, like, we have the shifting lanterns, right, that we've seen that can adapt the different, like, we even see here that they seem like they're red lanterns, but they're making full constructs and whatever. And I'm wondering if that's as part of Theris's plan. It's like, if you destroy the power batteries, all of that energy is just out in the universe for everybody to use, right? And so I'm wondering if that's his overall plan. It's almost like creating this chaos so then he can climb up out of it and be the one that wields all of it. Not thinking that Ganthet was going to,
I don't even know if that is what the goal of the plan is. I think this could just be what he's doing to try and achieve whatever he's trying to achieve, whether that's ultimate power, whether that's...
it's very weird that he went after the yellow battery and the orange battery. We've heard about the red and the blue have both fallen.
Well, I think that's just removing more competition, though, right? It's removing these other groups, these other Lantern Corps. I think part of what makes this story actually quite intriguing to me is that it almost feels like Hal and the rest of the 2814 Lanterns, they're not just fighting for the Green Lanterns. At this point, they're basically fighting for the justice of all of the different corps who have had their batteries destroyed. Like, they're kind of fighting for Larfleeze, who's been, they mentioned here, he's been arrested, he's been taken captive by the United Planets. So in a weird way, we're kind of rooting for them to save all of the lanterns. It's it makes me feel like a big deal.
No, it does, and that's what I mean about that. Is like, yeah, you can look at it as a competition, but it's also if he holds all of that power, you know, and you have all these different it's almost like
he definitely wants power. I'm just not sure he literally wants to wield the lantern power for himself, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I don't think he wants it for himself, but he's taken a symbol, right, and then that's the spectrum, let's say, and he's weaponizing it himself, right? Because what would be the point of the color shifting lanterns at a certain point if you know if you already have the Green Lanterns under?
Well, the point is it's his own personal army. Like that's what he strikes me as. He strikes me as a military leader or like a president or something like that, who is building a force that no one else has the power to fight. Right. And that's what those shifting lanterns are. These are the like, hey, you're the elite that I'm giving this special ability to, that, you know, do my bidding and you'll be taken care of, kind of thing. I'll be very surprised and perhaps even disappointed if he ever gets into like a big fight himself, wielding tons of lantern energy. I mean, it might work in the context if that's what they're actually building to.
I mean, as the fact that he's a Durlin and a shapeshifter too, right? Let's not forget about that. And all that. But yeah, no, I'm very curious to see if, you know, we see Larfleeze and whatever, and Sinestro again. We get all of these different colored lanterns, you know, back in these pages, you know, after we haven't had them in what seems like forever. You know, just the mere mention of Larfleeze, right? And the first arc was about Sinestro, you know, trying to recover his energy.
Do we get some sort of all-star team later where you've got Atrocitus, Sinestro, Larfleeze, and pick, you know, some of the other ones?
Well, you had Indigo, right? You had brother, what was his name? The Blue Lantern, Saint Walker, right? And all those guys,
Saint
right?
Walker, yes, and I'm forgetting,
Right, and then you have the Indigo. We haven't seen any of the Indigo stuff in a minute, and that's curious because without their energy, those people are maniacs out there, right? Because that was the whole gimmick of the Indigo Corps.
I wonder, that might play into it though. What if Tharis doesn't go after that one power battery? Because you know what, we're better off with them still being those lanterns.
Yeah. You know, they kind of stay to themselves.
Alternatively, it will show how evil he is if he doesn't care. If he's like, no, destroy it and let all these, you know, murderers and whatnot go wild.
And that's what I'm talking about, the chaos in it. You know, chaos is a ladder, and he's going to use it to climb to the top. And then from Solicits, we see maybe Carol in the Star Sapphire. So we also have the Zamorons out there. And they don't go down without a fight. So I'm very curious to see where everything goes. But yeah, Adam's taking time out to establish how important the Green Lanterns from Earth are. That they're essentially, you know, being trusted to harness this energy here. I like it, and it's someone I feel like he's writing not just from a fan's perspective, but like he really gets the whole mythos of the Green Lanterns in a way that I haven't really enjoyed. Because Humphreys did, right? But like it was a little bit different. And then I feel like Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing his kind of own story over there with John. So the fact that he's accessing all of this other stuff and we're getting these, you know, like Larfleeze just being mentioned, I really like that.
Yeah, no, I like this quite a bit. I think it's painting a bigger picture for where the story's going, and thankfully I think that story's mostly pretty exciting as of right now. It's definitely the most I've been interested in a larger scale Green Lantern story in quite some time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, what are you rating Green Lantern, Matt?
I'm giving this a 9.
I'm going to go 8.5. It's really, really good. I'm just maybe knocking it down because I think the art and the backup's a little weaker.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, too. I did like that art there, and you might be right. I was just happy to be reading Jess again. Because it's been forever.
I was definitely happy. Jess
I got in there, I was like, oh my god, this is great.
Yeah, she's my favorite Lantern, so I was definitely happy to be reading her again.